All right, let's see. Just one more moment here. It's loading up. Giving out some invites. Okay, cool. I'm just gonna put this down here right quick. All right. See here. Yeah, I did. I went live, babe. I did. Um, all right, cool. All right. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Great. All right, listen. The Torah portions are critical to our understanding about what the Most High wants us to see during this week. I mean, every week we have an opportunity to get more familiar with the Most High and His ways, and it's an honor for us to be able to do this. And I'm very thankful to the Most High for Him showing us how to do it. There's a lot of people out here, you guys, who don't even know how to read the Torah. They don't even know how to read the Torah portion. They don't understand it. They're all over the place. Okay. I wanted to bring this out because if it's okay to read the Bible. Okay. It is. I stay away from the New Testament unless I'm going there to find some fault in it and to make a comparison about what the Most High said compared to what these Romans and these Greeks have talked about. But there's a reason why the Most High wants us to stay focused on the Torah. I don't ever want you guys to move away from it, because if we move away from the Torah, we're going to get confused about who the Most High is and what it is that He is doing. It's literally a path. Okay. So the path that we've been on is the Torah portion path. And every week we go through this because Yah is leading us to these places so He can talk to us and He can speak to us. We don't physically hear the Most High. We're not hearing a cry out to us like, "Hey, I'm Yahweh." We don't hear Him speaking to us in that manner, but we do hear Him through His words that He has spoken to our ancestors. Okay, so this week's Torah portion is called Wayera. Okay, Wayera. And what Yayera means that the Most High He appeared. Okay, so in this Torah portion, the Most High has appeared unto Abraham, and there's a reason why. I mean, there's plenty of other times where He has spoken to him, and He gave him commandments and so forth and so on. So this portion here literally has to do with one seeing something. It's not just an appearance, but it's also to see. Right. So that's the idea behind Wayera. Wayera is to see, it is to appear. Okay. So the Most High is going to speak to Abraham, and He's going to tell him some different things to do and what He was about to do. And He was going to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah. He's going to, bring about the promise that He promised him in chapter number 17. Then He comes in, He visited him, and He tells him that He's going to, bring a son to Sarah, and so forth and so on. And also, too, we have the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. We have that's in chapter number 19. Chapter number 20 is dealing with this relationship with the king of Moab, excuse me, Abimelech, a land where Abraham went to go dwell, and some challenges that he faced there. And then chapter number 21, we see that the Most High brought about the promise that He promised to Sarah. And then there was some confrontation and some conflict going on in the family at that time, which we're going to cover today. And then, of course, the last chapter talks about the Most High testing Abraham and finding out whether or not he was going to be loyal to Him. So there's a variety of different reasons why the Most High has appeared. I can't go through every single line. I would love to, but that's not the purpose of this Shabbat teaching. The Shabbat teaching is literally for us to come to understand how you and I are supposed to trust in Yahweh with all of our heart, right? And we're not supposed to lean upon our own understanding. We find this in the book of Proverbs in chapter number 3. But of course, if we're going to have Yahweh come to us and appear unto us and show us, right, and not hide things from us, then clearly you and I are going to have a relationship with Him that consists of having confidence and reliance upon the Most High. And we cannot do this if we're if we're half-hearted. Okay. They always use this idea with all your heart, meaning that you have a heart that's been tamed, you have your mind, your thoughts, your intellect, your desires, all these sorts of things. And so it's telling us that you and I are not supposed to rely on our own understanding. Okay. Which is kind of difficult sometimes because a lot of us are very smart, we're bright. We've have some life experience. We're not dumb people, but the Most High is really concerned with us learning how to rely upon Him and not how we see things, right? The Torah portion is about seeing something, right? A wayera. And, often through it, we saw that, someone said this was this way according to how they saw it, right? And what was right in their eyes and how did they perceive it. So in any relationship, especially with the Most High, you and I have to come to Him in a way that is going to allow us to be able to see the things that we need to see. He's not going to show you and I anything if we're not willing to be wholehearted with Him. Okay, just like we're going to find out in a few more slides. So, Wayera, there's other people trying to come in. Yes, praise be to Yahweh for his little lambs that are coming in. Wayera literally has this idea of simplicity, right? Being one who is not a simple-minded person, but a person who actually operates in simplicity, right? Your Torah portion talked about how Abraham did things when the Most High appeared unto him. He didn't make anything ultra spiritual. And I think that's where we get lost sometimes, is because we're in a culture and around a group of people that like to spiritualize everything, right? He had an actual relationship with the Most High. And when the Most High came in to visit him and to spend time with him, he took on an approach of simplicity. He asked him, "Hey, can I get you some water?" That's very simple. That's something easy to do. Rest yourselves. Let me make you something to eat, right? So this culture that you and I in make things difficult. To serve the Most High is not difficult. To trust in the Most High, He's not asking us to do something that's hard. And He's not asking us to do something that's difficult. It literally is simple. It's very simple on how to worship the Most High. Okay. It is. It's just following instructions. Part of that simplicity that we found this week in our Torah portion was the idea of hospitality. Our father and our mother and all the people in our family line, not, I won't say all of them, but I would say a majority of them was a very hospitable people. Rivka, Isaac's wife, she was very hospitable. And that's what we're going to learn later on down the line in our teaching about how hospitable she was. Abraham specialized in hospitality. Remember, we can't forget that he had literally close to almost 1,000 people following him. He had his own community, right? And so within that community, in order to have order and to have peace and shalom within that community, you have to have this idea of hospitality. We know that Abraham is a righteous man. We know his family's righteous, right? So being righteous is not being just, what they would say spiritual. Being righteous is demonstrated by how much hospitality you and I show to others, especially those that we do know and those that we don't know, right? How are we? Are we welcoming? Are we friendly? Are we, trying to, provide, food for them? Are we trying to make sure that they have something to drink? Are we making them comfortable? And so we see this in our Torah portion, that being a righteous person has to do with hospitality. Not only did Abraham have this hospitality, but also too, we had this idea of how to do the hospitality. Now, in an ancient Hebraic culture, when you were trying to be hospitable to someone, you were very insistent. You were, hey, I'm going to kind of press on you, and I'm going to pressure you to eat. I'm going to force you literally come and sit at my table, come to my tent, come to my family, let me feed you. This was the idea behind our culture. And so, I have friends and associates and people I have a relationship with, people who is online right now, who I have experienced this hospitality from them. When I went over to their home, they fed me this wonderful fish. Me and my wife, they invited us and our daughters, but our daughters weren't able to go. But we had this very beautiful experience with them, and that's something that's will always be remembered. And I memorialize that, and I've also said that I'm going to pattern myself after those individuals. So being righteous and being hospitable is can be contagious, right? And so this is something that we need to be insistent upon. Abraham was insistent upon it. He said, "This is the reason why you came to me, is because you wanted me to do this for you." So what did he do? He ran to tell Sarah, "Hey, you need to do this, to get this ready." He ran to go get the meat and the milk and the curds and the yogurt and all this and make the bread. And he was running around, but he was insistent upon them staying around him. Not only was he like that, but his nephew was the same, right? So Lot was in a whole nother location. I made a note to myself that people that are righteous, you can recognize a righteous person because they have the same type of characteristics. You know, Lot did the same thing that Abraham did when he was visited. He saw the men, he welcomed, he bowed down in front of them, and then he was insistent on them coming to his house. He was insistent on them drinking and eating and having somewhere to stay and to be protected. That's indicative of a righteous person, right? So we see that with Lot. We also saw in our Torah portion, or what I would say the Haftarah portion, where we had a woman. She was called a Shunammite, okay, a Shunammite woman. And the Shunammite woman in Second Kings, chapter number 4, talks about how this woman used to watch the prophet come into the town, and she was insistent on him coming there and sharing a meal. And then every time he would come to the town, she would make a meal for him. But then she told her husband, say, "Hey, let's, show some extra hospitality and build him a room and get him a bed." And she set those things up, right? So this is an idea that we see in our Torah portion about being insistent. There is some, what I would say, persuasiveness that's going on today as well. We see this not only with the righteous, but we see this with the wicked. We saw that in our Torah portion with the men of Sodom. They were very insistent. They were pressing upon Lot to get into his house so they can have some ungodly relations with the men that were there. We see that Lot's daughter, his oldest daughter, she was very persuasive, and she was insistent with her younger sister on telling her, "Hey, we need to do this." And she convinced her and she showed her. And so, we see this idea of insistency and pervasiveness or persuasiveness that's going on even in our culture today. That's what it is. People are trying to persuade us. So you could be persuaded and be insistent in a very positive way, a very righteous way, but also too, you can be very persistent and persuasive in a very evil and wicked way. So it goes both ways, right? So this is something that could be shared between the wicked and the righteous. And so there's different results that come about from the persuasiveness or the insistency of a righteous versus the wicked. Okay. We're going to talk a little bit about that today. In your Torah portion, you learned about this idea about life. This is one of the reasons why the Most High appeared unto Abraham, is to share with him that he was going to bring about life to Sarah in a time of life, in the time of life which we know is 9 months. But the idea of life is something that we need to talk about. Okay. In Hebrew, the word life is called Kai. Kai. Okay. And Kai, of course, means your life, but it also has to do with your stomach. Okay. We can't say that we're alive when you don't have any food in your stomach, because a Hebraic understanding is an empty stomach is death and a full stomach is life. So when the Most High is bringing about this promise that he promised to Abraham, to Sarah, and talking about bringing life to you, what he's saying, I'll bring another stomach into the family, right? And when I bring the stomach into the family, you're going to have to fill it. You're going to have to bring food to it. And then he talked about how Abraham's descendants were going to be as numerous as the stars of the sky and the sands of the sea. So what is he saying? That I'm going to give you more life. I'm going to make it more abundant. So if I make it more abundant, I'm going to give more stomachs. I'm going to give more life. And then if I give more life, then I'm going to have to provide for that life. I'm going to have to fill the stomach of these individuals, right? So in our understanding of the covenant, and he's talking about Yah, talking about he's going to give us life and he's bringing us to life. What he's literally talking about is how you're going to be able to survive with your food. Okay. Kai also too, in order to have this life, it's an act of kindness, right? Gratitude and humility. Now, these are some of the reasons why the Most High gives us life and how we live our lives, right? It's not just to have a full stomach, but it's also to show kindness, to show gratitude, and to also show humility. And this is what we're seeing with our family, like Abraham, and we're seeing this with Sarah, and we're seeing this with Lot. We're seeing this in the experiences that Abraham is having, right? And all this time that he's with the Most High, these are the things that he's learning. So life is not just about our stomach; it's about how we do things. It's how we move, right? What are we thinking? Okay. Kai as well has to do with life being a gift. Life is a gift from the Most High. That's what Kai is. It's a gift. And in this life and in this, with this gift, you and I, we have some privileges. It comes with different privileges, right? For example, you and I have the ability to see. Some of us, we can see clearly. Some of us can't. We're getting older and whatnot. Some people have the unfortunate status of being blind where they can't see physically, but also, too, we understand this to be spiritually. We have the privilege of interacting with one another and having relationships. We have the privilege of, taste buds and hearing things and music and dancing. And we have the privilege of working with our hands. We have, privilege of birthright, right? That's a privilege. That's something that we're able to pass on. We have the privilege of getting to know our Creator. And so with those privileges, it comes with, you and I know, as responsibility. We don't get privileges without responsibility. This is not a free for all in this life that you and I are living. We're going to have to be accountable for the things that we do and for the things that we say, right? So we have that, right? Also, the type of life that a righteous person is supposed to live is one not only with their morality and their physicality, right? That's what we have. We have our morality and we have our physicality. And so, but the idea of this life, we need to understand that in all things, like even the physical things, everything wears out. Everything. And so when we see these things that wear out, it's just a reminder to us that you and I are going to wear out. It's always been the desire of mankind to be redeemed and to be restored back to their original state, because we're trying to escape this idea of being transient. Transient means to wear out and to get old and to be weakened over time. So if you look at nature and you look at things like, the flower, the Most High says the man is like grass and the kindness of a man is like a flower, and just fades away. It's here today and it's gone tomorrow. Okay. So these are the different aspects of life that we need to understand. It's not just about our physicality, it's not about our morality, but it's also about how we're moving through this life. We're only going to be here for a short period of time. So while we're here, it's important for us to understand how should we live this life. And so I'm thankful today that we have the Torah, because the Torah is able to show us how could you maximize your life. Even though you're transient, even though you're going to be leaving one day. And of course you don't know when, but you do know that you're gone. You're leaving here. Okay. And that's an idea that we need to accept, right? We need to accept this about Kai. Um, Within our life that Yahweh has given to us, right? We need to understand who He is. So you and I are mortals, right? So we have mortality. We die, right? We disappear. We fade away. We go into the ground. The Most High is a different type of life. He's a different type of life. The Most High does not have a stomach. Okay. The Most High is immortal. We often know Him and recognize Him as being a spiritual being, but also too, we understand that He's unchangeable. He's not transient. He doesn't wear out. So everything that He has said to us and everything He has spoken to us is for sure. It is something that can be relied upon. And we know that whatever He said is eternal. right? So the things that he's talking about is all written down, and he's unchangeable, so he's not going to change his mind. Okay. In your Torah, the question was asked, is anything too hard for Yahweh? This is a question that the Most High had asked Abraham, our father, and for what reason? He asked this question because Yahweh wants us to know that in spite of what you and I see, there's a realm that you and I know nothing about. There is you know, a way with Yah about how when he does things, it could be supernatural, or what you would say extraordinary, or what you and I would call a miracle, or what we would call something, a wonder, something miraculous, right? And so there are things that you and I are not able to see, right? But the Most High will actually do something to show us his nature, right? Showing us who he is and what his power is. And he does this in order for us to put our reliance upon him. So, for example, he told Sarah, hey, or told Abraham, Sarah's going to have a child. You know, well, to her, this was something that she has never experienced, and she wasn't going to be able to do. And yet, when it happened, it was something needed in order for her to put her confidence and her reliance upon the Most High. We also see this in what you call the Haftarah, where the Shumanite woman, she didn't have a child, and the Most High, used the prophet to ask her what did she want, and she said nothing. I don't want anything. And then he said, "Hey, I'm going to give you a child." And I think that's where the New Testament bites off of our writings to try to say that the angel Gabriel came unto the woman and said, "You're going to have a child." So they pretty much have been using plagiarism on our text in order to create their narrative, right? But the Most High has shown us this supernatural power in order for us to become reliant and dependent on him, to let us know that I'm not like you, I'm eternal. I'm going to do the extraordinary. I'm going to do the wondrous things. I'm going to do the things that other men and human beings can't do. So you would be able to know that you can trust me, right? Trust in Yah with all your heart and lean not to your understanding. So reliance upon Yah was an idea that was found in the Torah portion. He wanted them to learn how to become reliant upon him. And that has to do with the relationship that we have with him. This wasn't part of your Torah portion, but Moses had told the children of Israel that he wanted them to choose life, right? So that they would live. Choose your stomach, right? Choose life so that you will live. You and your loving Yahweh, right? You and loving Yahweh, your Elohim, paying attention to what he says and clinging to him, for this is the purpose of your life. See, he wanted them to choose it because you have choices. You can choose death or you can choose life. You can choose to live. Living means having your stomach full. Living means having food. Living means expressing kindness and gratitude. Living means that you have a gift. You could choose this if you want, right? And so Yahweh, our Elohim, wants to give this to us, and only that way that we can maintain this is by paying attention to what he says and by clinging to him, right? And so they says, for that is the purpose of your life. That's the English translation. I want to discuss a little bit to you about, it's not really your purpose, okay? That's just the English word. The word that's being used there for purpose is literally your path. It's your path. Okay, so I'm going to go back right quick and show you again. So let's replace that word for purpose and put your path. Okay, so for this is the path of your life. It's not the purpose. Okay, so we can use the English word purpose, the goal of your life. No, the path in Hebrew is what we're talking about. Okay, why is this important? Because as we've been seeing over the last few weeks, the Most High called our father to Lech Lekai. He called him to walk. And he said, I'm going to show you a land. And he put him on a course. He put him on a path. Okay. So the path that we're on is the path that Yah has set before us. I wrote this little, quote here. This is my quote, right? The path we chose, not the path that we choose, the path that we chose tells us who we are. So based on where you're walking and what path that you chose, that tells us exactly who we are. You can't walk with Yah and be on the path of righteousness and live a wicked life. The two don't go together, right? So we chose. right? It was our choice. We chose the path. But that choosing, okay, is indicative of who we are. It's indicative of what our character is, right? And it tells us what our relationship is with the Most High, right? So if we're on this path that we chose, it means that we're in search of something. You've come to class. Why do you come to class? Because I want to know. I want to walk this path. This is not a path that is someone needs to be forced to walk on. Often we try to force people to be on the path that they don't want to be on. We try to force family members. We try to force our children. We try to force, friends. We try to force whoever we can. And even often, sometimes people force themselves to stay where, on the path that they really don't want to be on. And that's the reason why we have these struggles. When I was into the Christian religion, one of their big things were they always talked about, what your struggles are. You know, what are you struggling with? They said that all the time, every single Sunday. Like, what are you struggling with? You go to a men's meeting, what are you struggling with? Oh, I'm struggling with this, I'm struggling with that, I'm struggling. I can't get over it. They're always having a struggle, right? Not that one should not have a difficulty, but it's something that they could never get over. See? So this path that you and I are on is one that we chose. And so if we chose it individually for ourselves, then we should be okay with our decision, right? And we should be okay with the changes that will come our way. We should be okay with the challenges and some of the difficulties and adversity that we would face on this. We should know that in any path that we walk, there will be times where we will be exhausted. And there's going to be times where we're going to be happy. And there's times where we're going to be down. But we're the one who chose it. And that's what it has to be. We have to choose this for ourselves. Yahweh said something to Abraham that I wanted to share with you all. He asked the question, should I hide from Abraham what I'm about to do? Inasmuch Abraham is sure to become a great and strong nation, and all the nations of the earth will be blessed by him. See, so should I hide it from him? Meaning, should I take this out of his vision, out of his sight? Should I not reveal to him? This is what Yhwh is to see. So the Most High is saying, should I hide from him? Should I cover his eyes where he can't see my purpose, or he can't see my plan? He can't see what I'm about to show him. He showed him something about judgment. I don't have any slides literally going to talk about judgment. I have one that mentions judgment, but I didn't really spend too much time on it. We don't have enough time to talk about this judgment, between the righteous and the wicked. We'll cover that some other time. Okay. What we're going to do is just take what we can about having vision and be able to see. So the Most High is not hiding from Abraham about the judgment that he's about to bring upon the wicked. And he shows him how merciful he is. Even if he was to find 10 righteous individuals, he would spare a city if he would find the righteous there. So Yah gives us a little bit more insight into his character, and he shows us his mercy and his compassion. Abraham started off at 50. He goes all the way down to 10. Several questions asked. The Most High shows us that, look, I'm not going to hide this from Abraham. I'm not. The reason why he's not going to hide it from him is because he said, I've made myself known to him. That means that now they have a relationship and they have been engaged in some type of relational way where they have a connection and they have, some experiences together. So Abraham has been walking on this path with Yahweh for some time, right? So it's not a new thing to him. This is something he's been doing since he was 75 years old. Now he's well into, almost 100 years old. And so he's been walking with the Most High for some time, right? So he says, I made myself known to him, right? So that he would give orders. Okay. So I want to give orders to what? I want to give orders. He's going to give commands to his children and to his household after him to keep the way of Yahweh. That enlarged keep the way of Yahweh is the path of Yahweh. He's going to guard and protect the path of Yahweh. So our responsibility, before I continue to read, is not only to walk this path. Our responsibility, as we talked about, as being a righteous person, as being someone who the Most High has revealed himself to, we have privileges to walk on this path, but we have a responsibility to guard it and to protect it. And I think that's what we've been missing sometimes, because we walk it and we go through it and we're walking on it right now, right? And we're excited about it. But we have to have safeguards. And we have to safeguard not only the way of Yahweh, but we have to teach our children to do the same. And the way that we do that, everyone, is not talking only to them, but it's by demonstrating. Yes, we could talk to them, but we have to demonstrate to them and we have to show them. See, it goes back to your eyes, where they have eyes. The Most High has given us eyes to be witnesses, to see. That's what Yhwh is about. And he appeared and he wants him to see. He wants to show him something. He doesn't want to hide himself. He wants to make himself known to him. I have made myself known to him. He has actually had an experience with me. Okay. So now I've had this experience with him. I want the experience to be passed on for him to give commandments, not suggestions, not recommendations, to his children and to his household after him, to guard the way of the path of Yahweh and to do what is right and just, meaning to do what's righteous and to bring judgment. You can't have righteousness without judgment. That word just there is judgment. We have to be able to make decisions between right and wrong. There's no other way that I can chop this down. Okay. So that Yahweh may bring about what Abraham, what he has promised him. This is all contingent upon, if we were to do this, this was a statement, a proclamation made on behalf of our Father. The Most High said, I know him. So when the Most High is talking to Abraham, he's talking to his descendants after him too, and everyone who's within Abraham. Do you see? Isaac wasn't even born. So the expectation for Abraham is the same expectation as for us, because we're from that family. To know Yahweh, to have an experience with him, and to be in a relationship with him, and to be in a way to be righteous, right? And to have the privileges to walk with the Most High. You and I must understand and accept that we have chosen to be divine. We have been chosen to be divine. And because we're divine, all the instructions that you and I are to receive from the Mighty One is going to be divine. They're divine in nature. They're not from human origin. They're divine instructions. This is the reason why you and I need to understand that we have to guard and protect this way of life, okay? Not only divine instructions, but when we're on this walk, right, we're walking on the path and journeying along with the Most High. Yah is going to give us divine insight, okay? There's another sight that he wants to give us. It's divine. It's not the eyes that you and I see with only physically, but one would call it the third eye. It's a divine eye. You can be able to see things that you've never been able to see before. And guess what? Some of those things are just obvious and they're right in front of you, but yet you can't see them. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that. Okay. Therefore, our behaviors and how we move in the world and how we're transient and how we're transversing from one place to the next, from day to day, our behaviors are going to have to be divine. They're going to have to be divinely ordered. This is the reason why the instructions are so important. And the insights, we need that in order to achieve the divine behaviors that the Most High wants us to have. Elohim doesn't trust his own servants. This is found in the book of Job in chapter number 4 for your record. He doesn't trust his own servants. And he finds fault even with his malachim. Bet you a lot of you didn't even know that. The Most High finds fault even with them. His messengers, what they would call angels, he finds fault with them. Much more those living in the houses of clay, that's you and I, whose foundation is in the dust. Do you remember what Abraham said? If it pleases you, I'm nothing but dust. I'm nothing but dust and ashes. Showing the Most High that he's nothing but dust is saying I'm at the lowest common denominator. I'm the lowest of the lowest. I am at the dust. I'm on the ground. This is the reason why in our culture we would bow our faces to the ground. That's the reason why Lot bowed his nose directly to the ground, showing humility. That is indicative of a righteous person. That's indicative of a person who understands the divinity of Yah. Okay. So the dust is what we are. Okay. And our foundation is that. That's where we come from. This is what we're built on. And they are crushed more easily than a worm. Who? The people made from dust. They're shattered between morning and evening. They perish forever, and no one takes notice. See? So again, the idea of being transient, our frailty and how vulnerable we really are. We've been made to think that we don't need Yah, we don't need to rely upon him. Your very safety is in Yah's hands. Okay? In our Torah, we're going to find this idea of function and we're going to find dysfunction. Function means something that's good. They use the word good. It's an abstract term. You can't really define, what good means from an English standpoint. But in Hebrew, the word tov means to function. How does things work? Do they work well? Are they functioning on some level of goodness? And we find that Abraham, Sarah, and Hagar and Ishmael, Lot, his wife, his daughters, his sons-in-law, and Avimelech and his nation, they all had some good in them. They all were functioning, right? And so, when we go through life, and we could put ourselves on this list, we function. We have some good about us. We have some things that are good about us. But even though that may be the case, there are some things about us that we fail at. All of us have failures. All of us have faults. Like the Most High said, I find fault with my Malachim, which are the angels in English. My messengers, he finds fault with them. He doesn't put his confidence in them. Okay? Why? Because they're not like him. You see? So you can't put your confidence in something that is less than you. You can only put your confidence in something that is greater than you. So this is the reason why the Most High tells us not to put our confidence and trust in a man, but to trust him. Because if you put your trust in a man, you're going to be disappointed. Okay? Not to say that people won't try their best, because people have good stuff about them, right? But they also have the ability to fail. Okay, so you go down the list and you look at how did Abraham fail? What did Sarah, how did she fail? How did Hagar, Ishmael, Lot, his wife, daughters, and sons-in-law, Abimelech, and his nations? All of them, including you and I, including, the prophets in some way or another. Okay, so when I thought about Abraham's failure, I asked, well, how did he fail? What did he do to show that he had some type of fault or some type of failing in him? It's very difficult to find it in him, but it's there. Okay. Number one, he didn't rely upon Yah when the Most High told him I was going to give you a son through Sarah. Why? Because he went and he told his wife the promise and she conveyed to him, well, the Most High ain't did it yet. So here's my servant girl. That was a failure for him. He failed also too in the idea that he was still afraid when he would go into places like Mizraim and when he went into Avimelech's Gerar and the land of the Philistines, where he kept on being insistent about telling Sarah, hey, tell everyone you're my sister. So if he had 100% confidence in the Most High, he would have said, she's my wife. What would have been the results? They tried to kill him. Something else would have happened. But there's always a purpose behind Yah's allowing us to fail. And that's what I want to show you. Okay. Sarah failed. She failed by when the Most High made, talking to Abraham and he's communicating to him about her having a child. She laughed within herself and said, oh, yeah, right. And then when he asked her about it and she said she denied and said, no, I did not. And he said, yes, you did. You did say that. And she said, no, I didn't. He said, yes, you did. She lied. So you saw a flaw. There's a flaw in her. Failures are just flaws. Okay. Hagar. You've seen her fail all over the time, all the time. Okay, all over the place. She's failed as a servant girl. She forgot who she was as a servant girl to Sarah. She got haughty with her when she found out she conceived. She hasn't really submitted herself into her mistress. It was under the idea of her having to be told to go back and submit herself, but she has some failures. Ishmael failed. We see that in his behavior towards little Isaac when he was born. Talked about what kind of man he was going to be. He has some flaws. Lot failed. He was, I wouldn't say empathetic for the people, but he was kind of like procrastinating when it was time to go. And he was, moving around slow and just kind of out of it, right? His wife failed. She turned and looked back when she was told not to. She failed. Was she a bad person? No, she just had a failure. She had a flaw. The daughters, they failed. How did they fail? The oldest daughter, she failed. The younger daughter, she failed too. Because why? Because they didn't have any confidence in the Most High. They didn't have that type of relationship, and they became incestual with their father. And they got him drunk, and they took advantage of him, and they had children by him. Okay, so there's these flaws. The sons-in-laws of Lot's sons-in-law, they laughed at him, and thought he was joking. They didn't take him serious. They didn't have any respect for him. They weren't really listening to him. You see? So, and then Avimelech and his nation, which we're going to talk about more specifically. Okay. We're going to talk more about him. Okay. This is the example that we're going to have. But I'm going to begin with, I said Avimelech. I want to do with Sarah, Hagar, and Ishmael first. Forgive me. So here's something that you should have been able to catch in your Torah portion. This is why it's important to go over it and read it nice and slow and ask Yah for more understanding to open your eyes. Okay. And I would say, moving forward, when you read your Torah portion, before you read it, you need to ask Yah to open your eyes, to show you what's in it, and to show you what he's talking about, and make the connections between everything that you read. It says, but Sarah saw that the son of Hagar, the Egyptian, whom Hagar had born to Abraham, making fun of Yitzchak. He was mocking him. So Sarah said to Abraham, throw this slave girl out and her son. I will not have this slave girl as your heir along with my son Yitzchak. Okay. Abraham became very distressed over this matter of his son. But Elohim said to Abraham, don't be distressed because of the boy and your slave girl. Okay. So this idea of being distressed, he was grieved. But he told him, he said, listen to everything Sarah says to you. Now I'm going to show you something about a failing that he had. Okay. Listen to everything Sarah says to you, because it is your descendants through Yitzchak who will be counted. But I will also make a nation from the son of the slave girl, since he is your descendant. The Most High is commanding Abraham to listen to Sarah. Okay. That word listen is Shema, and Shema means to obey. Okay. To listen and take heed to what she has said, because she just gave him a command. These were commands that she said to him. Okay. These were commands. These were not recommendations. Okay. Throw this slave girl out. Okay. Throw her out. Get rid of her right now. Right. They're not going to be here. Get them out. He took this and he was very distressed over it. Okay. But I'm going to show you what it means to be distressed and what his thing is. Okay. Wayera. So in the Hebrew, when it says he was distressed, okay, English is such a weird language now that I know the Hebrew. It says Wayera, you can read it up in the English at the top, or the English letters. Wayera hadavar meod ba'ene Abraham all adot bano. Okay. What this means, everyone, and I need to show this to you. It means Yah is he's going to talk to us through this thing that he told Abraham. Hakika, I thought you said Wayera means to look. It does. Okay, so here's that word of our Torah portion right here on the bottom. We would never catch that if we were just reading English. You would never catch this. But the one that I'm dealing with right now is this one called here. This one. That's this one right here, Wayera. It sounds exactly like this one. It has a wa, it has a yod, it has a resh, but it has an ayin at the end. This one has a wa, it has a yod, it has a resh, and it has a aleph. So the difference between the words is this letter and this letter. Okay, so the difference is an ayin, which has to do with the I, and then the aleph, which has to do with ox, meaning the strong one. Okay, so, but the definitions of the words are clear. Okay, Abraham did just not was distressed over this thing. Abraham believed that this was this, which they call that Ra. And Ra means evil. That's what it means. It means misery. I said I didn't want to do that. It's misery, and it means something really bad. It's something cruel. Okay. So he thought that this thing, right, that she did in his eyes, but Ane, that's his eyes, that this was evil from his perspective, from his eye, his viewpoint. Okay. This is a flaw. Okay. So we're looking for the flaws. We're looking for the faults or the failings. What Abraham failed to see was Yah using Sarah and using Ishmael to bring about the promise that Yah said about Yitzchak. When she told him that this girl, that this boy has to leave, him and this woman, this slave girl, when they got to go, he forgot that this is something that the Most High said. The Most High had told Abraham previously in chapter number 17 that he wanted Ishmael to reign and to be his heir. He had no clue that Yah was going to use Sarah to make this come about. He thought that Ishmael was going to live there and they were going to grow up, and whatever reason, he was just going to be part of the family. But the Most High didn't tell him that. He told him that no, Ishmael is not going to rule. This is what he reminded him. He said, don't be distressed because of the boy and the slave girl. Don't think that this matter over your son is evil. When it says he became very distressed, what it's talking about in his eyes. See, it doesn't say that in English, but in Hebrew, it says his eyes. He thought this was evil. He thought that this matter that his wife had just done was evil. This was a very evil thing that Sarah was doing. Right? So that put a strain on the relationship. But all it was is the Yah was moving her and the boy to bring about what the Most High had said. This is the reason why he told him to Shema, listen to Sarah. Now, in the custom, in the culture, men are not, they don't think they're supposed to be listening to their wives. This was a command. I don't take no command from my wife. Well, you better understand when the Most High is bringing about what he wants from his perspective, how he sees it, he'll use your wife to tell you what to do. And you may not understand it because you can't see it. You understand? That's what this Torah portion is about, seeing. See? He couldn't see it. And listen, it wasn't like Sarah was in tune with the Most High, and the Most High told her to put him out. Yah used her. But she did see something. She saw that her son was being mocked. She saw that her son was being made fun of. She saw that this Yishmael, this, what you would say, this, I'm going to bring it out. You saw that this Muslim, because that's what he was, is making fun of the promised seed. She saw it. Abraham couldn't see it. See? So he wasn't Wayera. He did not see it, but she saw it. And because she saw it, Yah moved her to say, throw this slave girl out right now. That was at a party. That's what happened. It was at the boys' weaning party. It was at a banquet, everyone there. So the party went bad, went south. Everybody's having a good old time, and all of a sudden Sarah says, "Put her out." See? So the Shema, the obeying there was necessary in order to bring about Yah's promise. So it wasn't no accident. Okay, so the Wayera doesn't mean just to see. You can have two words that sound exactly the same, but why did Yah mention Wayera here and Wayera in the front in the beginning of the Torah portion? One is to see and one is to see evil. Because Yah wants you to see that, guess what? There's things that you don't see that are evil, and you can't see it. And I'm going to show it to you. Okay. The servant girl, Hagar, she had failures, and she failed to see. What did she fail to see? Well, when she got put out, Abraham gave her water and bread, and when the water in the skin was gone, she left the child under a bush and went and sat down, looking the other way, about a bow shot distance from him, because she said, I can't bear to watch. With what? With her eyes. My child die. So she sat there, looking with her eyes the other way, crying out and weeping. Then Elohim did what? He opened her eyes. Was this magical? No. She saw a well of water, so she went and filled the skin with water and gave the boy water to drink. Okay? There's a whole context that talks about what happened, I just gave you a little bit of it. But I wanted to show you what he's talking about. So did the Most High open her eyes spiritually, that she saw a spiritual well of water? No, she didn't. So why is this story important? Why does the Most High want us to know this? Because I'll draw out a little bit for us right here. That's the ground. Okay. When she was looking, there was a well. Wells are dug in the ground. That's where they are. They weren't above the ground where you can see it. So when she's looking in the desert and she's crying and she's giving over to her distress and she's worried about the boy dying, the well is already there. It's already there. She just can't see it. Okay? In the Hebrew, listen to me and listen to me well. The ayin, which they would call it ayin, okay, is called the eye. Okay? The eye is what they would understand as a well or a spring. Okay? So on your face, you have eyes. And out of your eyes come springs of what? Of water. When what? When you're crying. Okay? So I'm going to turn the land that you see right here from this, it's not a 3D, it's just I think a 1D. She couldn't see because she's crying. She can't see this way. She don't see it, right? She didn't see this. She's looking right over it, just right over. She's going right over the top. She can't even see the well. So the Most High didn't open her eyes in a third eye or a spiritual way, in a sense. But what he did is he opened up her understanding. That's what he did. He opened up her understanding. Let me replace the well on the ground, because this is the ground right here. And let me put it this way now. You have the ground, but what do you have? You have the eyes. And then out of your ground comes your water streaming off of your face. Out of the ground here, the water comes up. You got to go down into the well to get the water. Okay. When you're laying on your back, you're nothing but a piece of dirt. You're nothing but the ground. You understand? That's what you are. Your eyes are the wells. Okay, those are the springs. They're the springs. Forgive my drawing, I'm not an artist. They're the springs. Okay. Then you have your eyes. You have your eyes here. Okay. And then when you get sad and you start thinking, water starts coming down. Those are your wells. Those are your springs. So the connection is the Most High had to open up her eyes to show her the spring that she was missing. We miss our opportunities. We miss the things that are right before us. It wasn't spiritual. It was a physical well with physical water. We don't have to spiritualize everything. You understand? We don't need to. We need to look at the physical to understand the spiritual. So when it says he opened up her eyes, because why? Because she's crying. She's crying out tears and so forth and so on. But during her cry and her sorrow, and where she thinks that everything is over with the Most High, he's the one who had to open her eyes so that she can see. She saw a well. See? So what we're understanding is Sarah saw something. Abraham couldn't see it. Hagar couldn't see it. She couldn't see the well. She couldn't see her salvation. She couldn't see it because she was distressed, because she was crying, because she was worried, because she wasn't depending on the Most High. I can't bear it. At any time, she already had an experience with the Most High. I don't know if you remember that, but in chapter number 16, Amalek visited her and she saw, I saw, the back of the Most High. And she named the place Leroy, okay? The well of Leroy, okay? So here in this case, the Most High had heard the child because his name is Yhwh Hears, Yishmael. I just wanted to show you that something can be right in front of us and we can't see it because we're distracted or because we're grieving or because we haven't asked God to open our eyes. Abraham had to submit to his wife. He did. He had to shema. Again, to listen and to obey. That's what submission is. There was a question about whether a man, how does a wife submit to a husband? She has to listen and she has to obey. But as you can see, there's times where the husband has to listen to his wife. And he has to adhere to and obey what she said. You understand? For the purpose of the Most High. This word is underneath the word submission is called anah. And basically what anah is humility. Okay. So if one is going to submit to the Most High, okay, he's going to have to listen. He or she is going to have to listen and they're going to have to obey. Okay. They're going to have to take heed to what he said. They're also going to have to what they would call anah. And anah means to humble oneself. Okay. And anah means that, go back to it. Anah means that this is your answer. So one is to listen and obey and follow the instruction. That's submitting. You can submit to that. But you have to follow up with what they call anah. Anah is an answer. So Shema is listening and hearing, right? And obeying. It's a response, the action. But anah means to humble yourself. Come to humility. And by you coming to humility, that means that now that's your answer to the Most High. Your answer is humility. See? So you can listen and obey, but the proper response, because that's what anah means, is to respond. So submission ain't just about listening and hearing. It's how you respond. How do you respond? Do you respond with anger? Do you respond with humility? How do you respond? I found too that the prophet Elisha, they call him Elisha, but Elisha had, he failed in some type of way too. There was something he failed to see. Okay. What did he fail to see? He says, but when she reached the man of Elohim, talking about the Shumanite woman on the hill, she grabbed his feet. Gekazi came up and pushed her away. But the man of Elohim said, leave her alone. She is in great what? Distress. So we're seeing a connection between distress between Abraham and what happened with him. And he's thinking this is evil and freaked out. We see the distress with Hagar. Now we see that this woman is in distress. But look what he says, but Yahweh has hidden from me what it is. He hasn't told me. So there are things that Yah will tell at a certain time, and there's things he won't tell. Remember, the Most High asked, should I hide this from Abraham? He didn't hide it from him. Well, why is he hiding this from him? He's a prophet. Why is Yah hiding it from him? Because Yah has a purpose behind hiding things. Because he wanted the woman to come to a place of understanding. He wanted the Gekazi to come to a place of understanding. He wanted the prophet to come to a place of understanding. So for us, we're going to have distresses. And there's going to be times when Yah will reveal something to us, and there's going to be times when Yah's going to hide it from our sight where we can't see it. Like Hagar. She's not able to see it because of her distress. So the answer might be right in front of you. It might be right there, and you can't see it because Yah hasn't revealed it to you. That's the reason why I'm imploring us to say, hey, Yah, help me to open up my eyes. We talked about Abraham, Sarah, Hagar, and Ishmael. Okay. We discussed Lot and his daughters and sons-in-law and all that. Now we're going to talk about Abimelech and what their fault is. Okay. They had a great fault, him and his nation, that I want to share with you. It's important because it's part of the Torah portion. But Elohim came to Abimelech in a dream one night and said, you are about to die because of the woman you have taken, since she is someone's wife. Okay. You're going to die. You just taken somebody's wife. Now, Abimelech had not come near her. So he said, Master, this is in a dream. Master, will you kill even an upright nation? Does that sound familiar? It sounds like the words that Abraham asked the Most High when he was going to go to Sodom and Gomorrah. Right? So this king is saying, we're an upright nation. We're a righteous people. Didn't he himself say to me, she's my sister? So he's justifying himself, and even she herself said, he's my brother. In doing this, my heart has been pure and my hands innocent. I'm innocent. But listen what Elohim told him. Elohim said to him in the dream, yes, I know that in doing this, your heart has been pure. And I too have kept you from sinning against me. This is why I didn't let you touch her. Therefore, return the man's wife to him now, for he is a prophet, and he will pray for you so that you will live. But if you don't return her, know that you will certainly die, you and all who belong to you. So we have some questions here. I had some questions. Why? Why did the Most High continue to bring Abraham to these locations and these places? Why is he moving and traveling from, Mizraim to Bethel to the Mamre of Elon, or the oaks of Mamre, and then he goes over to Beersheba, and then he's going down to the south, and he's going over here. Now he's in the Philistine. Why? Because I'm wise. I want to know. It's because Yah wanted to proclaim. Every time the Most High sends Abraham somewhere is only for the purpose to make a proclamation, to proclaim. And the proclamation is he sent him to these places to proclaim to them of their unrighteousness. That's why. The reason why the Most High sent Lot into Sodom, or allowed him to go down there, as you notice, and they said, this man is always judging us. He's always telling us something. Who do you think you are? See? So it's to proclaim to them their unrighteousness, but also to proclaim the righteousness of Yahweh. That's why he's sending him to all these different places, because these places are not righteous. Abimelech believed that he was righteous. He believed that his people was right. He believed that his heart was pure, which it was, but it wasn't according to the righteousness of Yah. It was his own righteousness. They didn't understand Yahweh's ways. So should we say, well, they don't know the Torah, so surely they're not under any type of obligation to do what's right? That's false. The nations are under the obligation to follow the righteousness of Yahweh. He tells us that I will raise up a nation and I'll build it up, and I'll also destroy a nation if they don't repent, like you have with not only Sodom and Gomorrah, but you have with Nineveh, and you have with Babylonia, you have with all these different places. There's no one that's going to escape the righteousness of Yah. There's no nation. See? So our father was sent to these areas, and Yah told him to walk the whole. Every time you walk there, it's going to belong to you and your descendants. And what's the purpose? Is to proclaim the righteousness of Yah and to let that nation know that you're unrighteous. And also, more than anything, is to proclaim the power and the sovereignty of Yahweh. Yah has rulership and dominion over all and every land and every people. Can Yah speak to a foreigner? Yes, he can. Can he speak to someone who doesn't have the Torah? Yes, he can. Can he make a covenant with others that he wants to? Yes, he can. We should not limit Yah and his power and his sovereignty. He could do whatever he chooses to do whenever he chooses to do it. But that's the question being answered. Why was he sent? He sent in order to make a proclamation on several fronts. Yah's power, his sovereignty, his righteousness of Yahweh, not your own, and the unrighteousness of that nation. Because Abraham replied, when the king had asked him, why did you do this to me? He said, it's because I thought, in Hebrew it says, I said, okay, same thing. I said in my mind, there could not be possibly any fear of Elohim in this place. How was he able to see that? You hear what I said? How was he able to see that? He saw it with his eyes. He detected it when he went into the land. So they will kill me in order to get my wife. There's something about the wicked that's pretty much obvious to the righteous. When you go into different places, you can pick up what's going on. I've been in parties that I was like, I got to get out of here. And as soon as I left, somebody got killed when I was a kid. That's how it happened. There's situations that you could be in like, it's time to go. You feel it. You understand? So this man understood this. Our Father, the righteous, have a sense of understanding, and they have some power to be able to know, like, this place ain't right. You can see it in their behaviors, in their actions, in their conduct. So when he told this king this, okay, remember Abraham has already destroyed 4 kings. Okay, so he's a king himself in his own right, but now Yah declares him as a prophet. But why? He said, because you guys would kill me. You're not righteous. There's no fear. There's no fear of Yah. That means that he understood that these people don't respect Yah's ways. So now Abraham, again, on his journey, he's adopting Yah's ways, and he's adapting. His life is adapting to it. His household is everyone. Remember, Yah says, I know him, and his household is going to guard and protect my way. He's teaching his people. So when he saw that, when he went in there with his family and all the 1,000 people, there's no respect here. And if there's no respect, there's no instruction. He knew that. Maybe because when he got there, they weren't as hospitable as he was. Maybe they didn't offer him any water, any food, any drink. You understand? These are the things that tells us who's who. Okay? So instruction and education is a big part of fearing Yah. You don't have any knowledge of the Most High, you don't fear the Most High. To say that you and I are righteous, but you don't fear the Most High, you're not learning from him. It means that you can't be righteous if you don't fear and respect the Most High. You can't be righteous if you're not educated and you're not being instructed by Yah. There's no way possible. And you and I have to accept that. Why? Because fools say in their hearts, there is no Elohim. They deal corruptly. Their deeds are vile. No one does what is right. Why? Because they don't fear Yah. A fool is someone who covers their mind from understanding. To cover one's mind means that you close your eyes to instruction. You put your hands over your eyes so you can't see. You put your hands over your ears so you can't hear. That's what a fool is. It's a kasal. To cover from learning. You don't want to learn. So if you're not learning anything, then everything that you're doing is vile and it's corrupt. Okay? And you can't do what is just, and you can't do what is righteous. So what is the Most High doing when he sends Abraham to these places? What is the Most High's goal by sending us into exile? What was his goal for sending Jacob to where he sent him? Why does Yah send us to these places? It's because Yah is interested in having us be an introduction to the righteousness of Yah. He wants us to live lives that help people understand who we are. That's what it is. We're going to do this through our hospitality. We're going to do this through our kindness. We're going to do this the way we live our life. The gift that you and I have been given, this transient life that's going to perish, how do we maximize it? You see? So the righteousness of Yah is what our goal is to be introduced to these people, to these nations. And the way that Most High has done it is through prophets. He told the man, this man is a prophet. This man is going to tell you something. This man is going to speak things to you that are going to come about, because that's what a prophet does. A prophet's responsibility, along with the priests and the leaders of the community, is to bring correction. It's not to direct you away from the Most High. It's to bring correction to the community, to bring correction to the home, to bring correction to the nation, to reprimand them, to reprove them for their actions, that which is displeasing to the Most High. And if we don't do this, there will be an outcry, like it was in Sodom and Gomorrah. Yah said the outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah is so great and their sin is so serious that I will now go down and see whether their deeds warrant the outcry that has reached me. If not, I will know. I asked the Most High, well, how many people are outcrying? How many people are having this vocal expression of emotional distress? What's going on? Because from what I read, all the older men and the younger men all came and surrounded the house, and they wanted to have intercourse with these men. Oh, Lot's fault again. He failed. What he did was offer his daughters up. Some say that's noble. No, that's not noble. That's not noble. That wasn't a noble move. He offered his daughters up to them who have never been with a man. Go ahead. You guys can do whatever you want to do with that. And we would say that that was righteous. No, it's not. That wasn't righteous. That's a failing. Now you can understand why his daughters did what they did with their father. Do you see that sexual perversion? Do you see how Lot was, right? He was, right? He was showed hospitality and all this, but when they went into the house, his wife wasn't making bread like Sarah. His daughters weren't being, we don't have any indication. Nothing's mentioned about them getting any lamb and cooking and nothing. He did it all himself. So what is it? See? So I asked the Most High, well, if you said that if there's 50 there, you would spare 50 righteous. So he said, if there's 50, I won't destroy it. If there's 45, I won't destroy it. If there's 40, I won't destroy it. If there's 30, I won't destroy it. If there's 20, I won't destroy it. If there's 10, I won't destroy it. Obviously, there weren't 10 righteous. That's the reason why the city got destroyed. So who is doing the outcry? Who's outcrying against them? What's outcrying, right? Who's saying to Yah? Who's in the community that's saying this? Because they don't have any knowledge of Yah. So why would Yah hold somebody responsible and they never got a message from Yah? See? How are they to be determined to be righteous? This is something that he wants us to know. This is something he wants us to see. He wants us to see something. Why? So you and I can go through the idea of prevention. Okay? To prevent something from happening. Why? Yah has given warnings to people and outcries because of their behaviors, because there's disharmony in the city or the town or the nation, or even in the home. And they're going to commit crimes and sins, because that's what sin is crimes. Okay? So Yah will bring about judgment. What we're trying to do, everyone, and why Abraham was in the places he went to, is because Yah was sending him there in order to help them understand what and who they are. What are the crimes that they're going to commit to prevent them from being destroyed like Sodom and Gomorrah? You see? This is the purpose on why Yah wants to choose a people so he can prevent the destruction of the whole entire world. He doesn't want to bring judgment. He says, if I find 10, I won't destroy it. He doesn't want disharmony in the community. He doesn't want it in your household. He doesn't want us committing sins.
Is that not what he told Moses when the children of Israel on the mount, when he went to Mount Sinai? He said, why did he come this way? He came to test you so you wouldn't sin against him, so you would commit crime, so you'd be afraid of Yah. But we're not doing anything to prevent this. You see? Because we're not living the way that Yah wants us to live. The nations are not living the way the Most High wants them to live. That's why there's this disharmony. That's why there's so many sins and crimes, because they're not interested in prevention. That's the reason why judgment's coming, people, is because no one's doing anything to prevent anything. They're not doing it. There's no righteous people. This term, adot, was mentioned in your Torah portion. To be a witness. It also means to have evidence, which will testify against an individual. Our last slide talked about the crimes, and it talked about the sins, and it talked about judgment, and it talked about prevention. Okay? These things were happening. These sins are testifying against the people. It wasn't that there were individuals, everyone in Sodom and Gomorrah, crying out to the Most High, because if it was, he would have saved the city. He's not talking about the people crying out to him. He's talking about the actions that were being performed in Sodom and Gomorrah. He's talking about the behaviors and the conduct of the people. The lack of righteousness, the lack of hospitality, the lack of kindness. See, when we take it out of this religious realm and we stop being churchy and we begin to look at the very facts that are before us and we begin to see what the Most High is saying. He's telling us as a humanity, we have a duty and a responsibility to show hospitality to people, to be kind to them, to always be grateful and to be giving and to share food and clothing with people and to care about those who are in that situation. We're thinking that he destroyed them because there were a bunch of sinners. Yeah, they were sinners, but it was their behavior. There was no one righteous enough in there to say, well, let me make an impact. You know, Lot, he tried to. He went there and he told them when they were doing wrong, and they brought it up and said, yeah, you're always telling us, you're always judging us. Well, one person's not enough. His sons-in-law were not with him on that. He didn't have no one sitting at the gate with him except for himself. Yah will not spare a city for just one person. He won't do it. There's a certain measure of righteousness that needs to be met out. So you can see that if I find 10, there's a whole nation, a whole town of people, many towns of people, the righteousness of 10 will outweigh the crimes of all these other people. So righteousness is more weighty and more valuable. So what is adot? Adot is the evidence that you and I need in order to testify on our behalf or against us. So Sodom and Gomorrah did not have any, they had evidence of those things that were wicked. Their actions were witness against them. What can witness against us or for us is our speech and our tone. It could be our actions and our intentions. It's our behavior and it's our attitudes. This is what's crying out to Yah. Oh, you better hear what he said. Yah's not just looking at what you're talking about. Yah's looking at our tone. How did you say when you said what you said? What did you do and what was your intent behind what you did? What's your motivations? What are your behaviors and your attitudes? The way that you do things? How are you moving? That's what witnessed against Sodom and Gomorrah. That's what was crying out. You see, if there were more people in that city, because Yah didn't just destroy Sodom, he destroyed Gomorrah and he destroyed the surrounding cities and the whole entire plain. He was so upset that he burned up all the vegetation. There's nothing going to grow there anymore. Absolute total destruction. So the outcry are these things. It's not just the people, it's you. And it's your behavior. It's your attitudes that are crying out. It could cry out against you. When you and I are being selfish and we're being mean-spirited and we're talking about people or we're making fun of people or we don't care about the poor and so forth and so on, those things are not going to go unpunished. They cannot. Because we serve a living Elohim that keeps track and charge of everything we say and think and how we act. He's the one who tests the motivations of the heart. There's no one that's going to escape this. Because I asked him, well, how are these people going to cry out to you from the United States of America? Are they going to cry out from Britain? Where are they going to go? Who's crying out to Yah? Yah, don't worry about us crying, because I'm what? Your attitude and the way that you do people is your witness. It's your life. It's your Kai. We have some examples about speech and tone and behaviors and attitudes and actions and intentions. And we found that with Saddam. We found out how they were. You know, the young and the old, and what their intentions were and how they behaved. You know, that wasn't nothing new. The young and the old, how they surrounded the whole entire house. They were insistent and pressing upon to have their way. Ishmael, what did we find out about him? What was he like? That behavior of mocking his younger brother didn't happen overnight, people. It was because his mother failed to discipline him and his father failed to check him. Abraham didn't see anything wrong with the thing. He thought it was evil because he said on the account of his son concerning his son, meaning that he gave witness. He's like, there's nothing that the boy ever said. I didn't see this. I didn't see him doing this. He's just joking around. Sarah, why are you going to pull out my son? She saw something different. She's been watching him, watching his tone, watching the mother's tone. The son is acting like the mother. The Most High said this boy's going to be wild. He was wild. She didn't want that around her son. The Shunammite woman, what's her example? She was hospitable. She was caring. She was concerned with the well-being of the prophet and his servant. She was a wealthy woman. How did she demonstrate? What was her tone like? What was her ambitions? What was her desire and her goals? So we have some contrast here. And after these things, Elohim tested Abraham, and he said to him, Abraham. And he answered, here I am. This is a verse that's found in chapter number 22, where the Most High was calling him to take his son, to offer him up. The Most High wanted to see whether or not he was going to be loyal to him. The Most High said, I know Abraham. He knew that he would do it, but he still wanted to see it. The name of the mountain is called Moriah, okay, which means that from Yhwh See'S, Yahweh seen. So I asked the Most High, what does this have to do with the Torah portion? God has expressed that he wants to see if you and I are going to be loyal to him. Your loyalty is going to be tested. As long as you and I walk with the Most High in this life that you and I have, this transient life that we have, you're still going to be tested. Yah knows whether or not we're going to be loyal or not. It's not that he wanted to really know. He wanted Abraham to know. Yah knew that Abraham would do what he would do, what he asked him. He knew that. It says, now that I know. No, Yah's all-knowing. He wanted him to know, you see. And Abraham had dedicated himself to say to the Most High, here I am. I'm here for you. I'm going to be loyal to you. I'm going to listen to your instructions. You've tested my loyalty, and here I am. And that's what this is all about. Yah wants to see if you and I are going to be loyal. That's why he's sending us to the places that he's sending us to. That's why he sent us into exile. That's why he brings upon the difficulties that you and I may have in our life. This is why you and I are,
going through what we're going through, whether it be financially, physically, spiritually, emotionally, is to find out whether or not you and I are going to be loyal and whether or not we're going to be reliant upon him and whether or not we're going to put our trust in him as he's asked us to. Your Torah portion for next week is Genesis chapter number 23, verse number 1 through 25. Chapter number 25, verse number 18, excuse me. Chapter number 23, verse 1, all the way to chapter number 25, verse number 18. The name of your Torah portion is called Kaye, Sarah, meaning Sarah's life. That's going to be this coming up week, starting on Yom Rishon, which is tomorrow. Your Haftarah, which is your connection, is going to be found in 1 Kings, chapter number 1, verse number 1 through 31. Haftarah is just essentially allowing you to make a connection between something that is talked about in 1 Kings with Sarah's life. So when you're reading 1 Kings, chapter number 1, 1 through 31, be looking for hints about something. I don't know what the connections are yet, but when you read it, you'll find it. Tehillim, which is the Psalms, is chapter number 79 through chapter 107. Okay. That's going to go along with that 1 Kings, chapter number 1, verses 1 through 31. They're all connected. Okay. There's a connection between them. So what I recommend is read, a couple of Psalms every day, take some notes until you get to, the 107th one. And then you can look at that. And then you can look at the ideas that are found in 1 Kings. And you can look at those ideas. And then you have the ideas that you wrote down about Sarah's life and some of the main points there. And then you can find it. You can make your connection. Okay. And so it has to do with life. Okay. So that's what we're going to be looking for. Okay. So I say Shabbat Shalom to you. And for those are still going to remain on, I want you to participate as we do in our what they would call cahoots. I'm going to stop this share right quick.